Hi, so welcome to the third module. Till now, we have covered the fundamentals of writing and language. Now it's time to apply these skills to the core products or deliverables that a medical writer creates. In this session, we will break down the structure and the strategy behind the most common scientific documents you will be tasked with writing. So let's start the modules. So by the end of the module, you should be able to um, understand or learn the art of writing concise and impactful abstracts and conference posters. Then apply the IMRaD structure to draft an original research article. Learn the key differences between a narrative review and a systematic review, and identify uh, your role as a medical writer in writing systematic reviews and meta-analysis. Now, let's start with the first part of mastering. So herein we will talk about abstracts and conference posters. So think of it as the trailers of your main documents on research. Starting with the scientific abstract. What exactly is the abstract? Wherever here a researcher sends in his paper to a publisher or to his peers also, he shares the abstract, right? So in a way, it's a summary of entire research. So the key feature of this document will be its conciseness. Everything, the entire research needs to be concised within 250 to 300 word limit. The structure would be everything over here. These 300 words should cover everything from the research, including background, methods, results, and conclusion. So first thing a medical writer needs to work on is the scientific abstract. So here in a way, if we visualize it, an entire full page, I mean 4 to 5 pages of text needs to be converted, needs to be condensed into a small 250 to 300 word extent structured abstract. The next deliverable for a medical writer is the conference poster. So now conference poster, again, conciseness has to be there. However, it differs from majorly from an abstract in the aspect of its visual appeal. So herein, I mean, whenever you are presenting a poster in the conference, all of us know it is not meant, the poster is not meant to be read, but it is meant to be viewed. It is not, so you can't say it is a mini manuscript of the research, rather it's a visual billboard to engage the audience. And to pause them at your spot, at the presenter's spot. So you have to think of it in this way. Is your poster able to stop someone, and is it conveying the entire content in 5 to 10 seconds? Right? So the key elements of a visually effective poster would be better to, while drafting the poster, the heading should be very catchy. So instead of a simple title, go ahead with question-based titles. So instead of, like, rather than titling your poster as the efficacy of drug so and so in patients with psoriasis, go ahead and title it as does drug so and so improve outcomes in psoriasis, a randomized controlled trial. Use as many graphic elements as possible, stick to as less words as possible, and the flow of the content should be very clear and logical. So as we can see, how does a conference poster differ from a scientific abstract? By inclusion of more graphic elements and cutting short on your textual element. So this was about the first part wherein we discussed what the key points to be kept in mind while drafting a scientific abstract or a conference poster. Coming to the next part, herein we will discuss the original, what role a medical writer plays in drafting the original research article. So, as we all know, the original research article is the main. I mean, it is the gold standard for presenting new data. It is one of the key deliverables wherein researchers would come to you asking for your help, and you need to be very clear on the structure, on the pattern which needs to be followed while drafting an original research article. See, journals have 4 or 5 types of articles. The primary one being the original research. Then we have review articles, we have case reports, so on and so forth. So original research article and review articles you need to understand. When it comes to the structure of an original research article, you need to follow a strict IMRaD pattern. IMRaD, what exactly it means, majority of us would be knowing. I stands for introduction, then M would depict the methods and results, followed by discussion, right? So you have to be very clear on this structure. It cannot be altered. So your key tasks would be to check for the backbone of the research article, whether the content is falling under these 4, 5 headings. Then, as we discussed in the second module, the voice, these days it's highly recommended to follow an active voice, plus the voice should be consistent throughout the write-up. Then you have to stick to the journal specific guidelines. These author guidelines may differ from journal to journal, so you have to ensure that for example, some journals, many journals ask for an unstructured abstract, whereas a few of them also want they would ask you to structure the abstract in a way that it will have subheadings. Okay, so that means you have to stick to the specific journal guidelines. Then yeah, the majority of the times, most of the times, it's not a single author who has contributed to the content. So that review process among different authors, therein your role comes into play. And then certainly you have to work on all the graphical elements, including the figures, tables, and then you have to, as we discussed in the first module, those reference manager tools, right? Mendeley and others, and Note, you have to be handy with. So everything would be managed by you. Project manager you will be acting as. So we discussed about the scientific abstracts and conference posters. We discussed about the key features of an original research article. Now we will move to the review articles. So review articles, unlike the research articles, as the name suggests, research articles are talking about the original, something new which has happened, originally new. Whereas when we talk about the review articles, they are handling the existing data in a particular field. So what exactly the review articles are doing? They are summarizing all the available researches in a particular field. So there are different types of reviews. Starting with the narrative review, what exactly it is? a comprehensive summary of a topic from an expert's perspective. So, for example, the role of SGLT2 inhibitors in diabetes. Okay, so whatever is present in the literature, whatever authentic literature throws on you with, it needs to be summarized. It won't have a formal methods section. You simply need to narrate everything which is present in that field. The structure would be thematic. It will start with an introduction. Why is that particular topic important in the current perspective? And then it will have subsections, pathophysiology, diagnostic approaches, current treatments, and future directions. See, current treatments, right? You didn't, you will not run any study. So it will lack a methodology section. And then you will be concluding the review. So this was about narrative review. How does it differ from original research? Feature-wise, so the type of data in an original research, as we discussed, it would be a new data set. Whereas in narrative, you are summarizing the existing data, right? Structure-wise, the original research article would follow the backbone of introduction, methods followed by results and discussion, whereas in narrative review article, after the introduction, it will be thematic structure. Objective here in original research article, we are sticking to a single study, whereas in narrative review article, we are summarizing whatever studies have already happened. Method section would be detailed in the original research article, and as we discussed, it is not generally included in a narrative review. Coming to the next section, systematic reviews and meta-analysis. So unlike the narrative reviews, a systematic review is, I would say, in a way, it is a experiment which we have done on existing literature. So it will have a defined structure again, the way an original research article had. So what is the purpose? Herein we are, herein the researcher is trying to answer a specific clinical question. Okay, how? By relying on all the available evidence, scientific evidence, scientific facts and data available around that specific question, one particular question. So key features would be herein we will have a method section. Why so? Because it is why shall we have a method section in a systematic review? Because we are running the experiment, right? So it will have a predefined protocol. It is more comprehensible and it will be a reproducible search strategy wherein we are going ahead and answering the particular question. It has to be, the study has to be reproducible for our peer researchers. Then it will also have clear inclusion and exclusion criteria. And certainly, see, reporting guidelines, what exactly reporting guidelines mean? In a simplified way, see, one thing is to do research. However, to report research is different. What do I mean by reporting your research? Now, reporting research, I mean, these articles, whatever articles are there in a journal, they are the reports of that particular research. Okay, so reporting means how to write. Okay, so how to write? Okay, I conducted an experiment. I mean, a researcher conducted an experiment on the role of a particular new molecule in a specific type of cancer. So now he will conduct the experiment with patients in the ward. But when he is submitting his experiment to a journal, that submission has to follow, it has to involve a minimum checklist of items. So that minimum checklist of items which a researcher needs for submitting his research, his study, that checklist, we call it, that checklist would fall under the reporting guidelines. So different studies have separate set of reporting guidelines. Reporting guidelines, so they would, reporting guidelines of a randomized controlled trial would differ from that of an observational study. So yeah, coming back to the systematic review. So systematic review follows a strict reporting guidelines, and which particular guidelines they follow? They follow PRISMA guidelines. Nothing to get overwhelmed with. There is this equator network from where we can find a specific guideline. So you will see that for RCTs, they have consort guidelines. So you need not to do anything. You simply need to click over there and it will direct you to that particular checklist which you need to follow. So best idea for the medical writer would be to keep that set of reporting guidelines in front of him. When we get research from, when we get the content, when we get the write-up draft from a researcher, alongside, we need to open the reporting guidelines and check if the write-up checks, I mean, if the write-up fulfills all the, ticks all the checkbox items from that reporting guideline. If any of them are missing, we can approach the authors. So this was about the systematic review. A step ahead would be meta-analysis. Herein, we will, what exactly a researcher does from all the included studies, the data is pulled up and statistically combined to produce a single powerful result, which shows a direction for the clinicians. Okay. Search, screen, assess, include. About the meta-analysis. Now, we already have covered, I mean, all these 4 sections, 4 deliverables, which we talked about the scientific abstracts, the conference posters, the original research article, the review articles, including the narrative reviews, including the systematic reviews and meta-analysis. So while discussing them, in a way, we have already covered what exactly a medical writer needs to do. He needs to know the objective of that particular write-up. So I cannot follow the structure of an original research, and I can't follow it for drafting the conference poster. So I need to be clear on my target audience. I need to know the purpose of that particular deliverable. And once I'm clear on these 2 pointers, I have to follow the guidelines. So for an abstract, I need to stick to the word limit. For a poster, I need to include graphic elements as many as possible. For a meta-analysis, I need to focus on the data. For a systematic review or a randomized controlled trial, I need to know my particular set of reporting guidelines, the checklist, and then accordingly, I will go ahead and draft that particular deliverable. So that's all. Help draft the research protocol, document the entire search and screening process. Just from my experience, what I have understood, it's always better to follow a structure. So at the beginning, the reporting guidelines, the checklist may seem very comprehensive, but once you get into it, it makes your job easier and more pakka, more concrete. Now, as we are doing in our modules, coming to how AI has changed the scenario. So certainly it helps you a lot in creating the first draft the first drafts of abstracts, the literature review, then all these sections like introductions or methodology, AI will create beautiful first drafts. However, as we discussed earlier, and as many of us would have faced this also, AI does hallucinate. AI lacks the ability to add context to sections like discussion. So it can draft a section on discussion based on results. However, it will not be able to add that thinking process to it, and that ways the discussion section will lack the context. So therein human expertise, human intervention is needed. So whatever you are getting created from AI, please go and review it comprehensively, meticulously. Now, talking about the AI traps, as we discussed, there is a major critical thinking gap. And so I have just added a few examples which indicate that we cannot overestimate the capabilities of AI. So, for example, if we ask to summarize, if we have herein I have felt AI to be helpful also. If I have multiple papers, I ask AI to create a summary out of it. However, it just with this summary, I get an idea what all these papers are talking about. However, it won't give me a direction in which these five papers in which these five different studies are leading towards, right? So therein what I do personally, I ask AI to create a summary, and from that summary I compare that summary with all of these five papers. Okay, so therein, as we discussed, humans are irreplaceable. So wherein AI is good at summarizing, humans are able to synthesize. Synthesize as in read these summaries and reach towards a conclusion. Likewise, AI cannot really identify a true research gap, right? So it can tell you what all has been done, but it cannot tell you what has not been done. And for it's not that good at identifying the gaps. Why so? Very simple. Because AI works on the data which is already fed into it. So since this data is not there, it won't identify it. So it won't come to you and tell those need gaps, existing need gaps. Again, it cannot appraise study quality. So see, AI would simply stick to the keywords. However, humans would only be able to validate them. So, if you ask AI about the inclusion of a particular study in a review, it will say yes, simply looking at the keywords. However, only a human writer would be knowing that, okay, because we know about tools like Cochrane, risk of bias, right? So we will know that this study we cannot include because it has a high risk of bias. Okay, so such nitty-gritties we need to intervene with. And then, yeah, so key rule can be like we should not hesitate in using AI for its speed and efficiency in drafting. However, for strategy and critical analysis, we have to actively intervene. With this, we come to the end of the module. So, as we discussed, for all these deliverables, the audience is different, the purpose is different. So, understand that and go ahead. So abstract is a structured summary. Original research article uses the strict IMRaD framework. Narrative review will synthesize all the existing literature. Systematic review is highly structured. It has to be reproducible, and then it will have methodology section also, unlike the narrative review. So these differences, these differences between the scientific documents you need to understand, and your job will become far easier. So let's take this activity up. So you have just completed a study on a new drug for migraines. Which deliverable would you use to submit your findings to a journal for the first time? Since it is for the first time, the journal team won't have time to sit and read the entire research article which you have worked on. So you need to submit an abstract, a scientific abstract. Present your key results at a conference next month. The keyword conference is already there, so go ahead with a conference poster. Write a summary for a neurology journal on the current state of all migraine treatments. Current state of all treatments, pointing towards the narrative review. Perfect. So, thank you. Stay tuned for the next module. Have a good day. Bye-bye.